had tortures. We live in a country where the torture is state-sponsored and the torture is presidentially approved. Torture is a war crime, and it's the only way in which the so-called war on terror has been made possible, because this country is responsible for using torture to terrorize the people of the entire Middle East. Thousands have been tortured, hundreds have died in the torture chambers. I won't go on with the unspeakable details. I will just ask you to keep in your mind as you listen to the speakers, the men, the women, and the children who have been tortured. Go read about the story of Omar Khader, 15 years old. Go read about it. We're here today to call on the students, the faculty, the staff of Boalt Hall to join us at this press conference and in our procession against torture and complicity, which will start at 12:30. Please welcome Cindy Sheehan.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out today. This is a very important cause because even though the Bush administration is out of office, A, many of the policies continue, and B, their responsibility didn't end on January 20th, 2009. These people need to be brought to justice, and John Yoo should be sitting in a prison, not teaching college, not teaching courses here at Berkeley.
That's right.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Teaching constitutional law when he used our Constitution, bastardized it, to support these policies of torture. And the students here, this used to be a hotbed of radicalism.
Yeah.
You know, and the universities used to be where radicalism, it was where radicalism started against another illegal and immoral war.
Yeah.
But now, you know, the students walk by like everything is status quo, like everything is fine, like there's no reason to rise up against this empire. And John Yoo is just a cog in the empire. George Bush was just a cog in the empire. But in 1965, on the steps of another hall here, Mario Savio said, we have to throw our bodies on the cogs, not oil them, not support them by our silence. We have to stop them. So I'm here to join with World Can't Wait, Code Pink, my organization, Piece of the Action, and all you here in solidarity to say arrest John Yoo.
Yeah.
Put him on, you know, give him what the people that have been killed and tortured and maimed didn't get a fair trial. I'm for giving John Yoo a fair trial and then put him in prison for the rest of his life for what he's done, his support for what he's done.
That's right.
And then we should never stop going after the other people in the Bush administration. Bush, Cheney, Rumsfeld, Rice. They all need to be tried. They all, I was going to say they all need to be harassed. Because if the empire, if the Obama administration won't put them on trial, then they have to be put on trial of public opinion until we have our last breath. Thank you.
Please welcome Ann Fagan Ginger.
I came to Berkeley in 1959, just after winning a case in the United States Supreme Court, 8-0, which took 9 years, when I represented Anna Morgan, the wife of a professor at Ohio State, who had the audacity, who had the wisdom to refuse to answer questions about her political opinions before the Ohio Un-American Activities Commission. And that 9 years taught me many things about law. And I decided when I came from New York to California to come to Boalt and become a student to get a Master of Laws degree here. There was a man named Frank Newman. How many remember his name? It should be mentioned constantly. He was dean of Boalt Hall. He's one of the people who taught us that human rights apply in the United States. And he went on from becoming dean to become a member of the California Supreme Court. I am sure that as dean of Boalt Hall, he would know how to call a meeting of the disciplinary committee of the Boalt Hall faculty to discuss what is to be done about a man who has been charged with committing war crimes. as the chair mentioned earlier, judges and lawyers who gave legal advice to Hitler were found tried in the second Nuremberg trial, and several of them were found guilty. A lawyer cannot give illegal advice that results in the death of people and the detention of people illegally without paying a price. And I have good news. The State Assembly last Monday voted to become, California should become the first state in the United States to publicize the texts of 3 treaties the United States has ratified, all of which forbid the kind of torture which John Yoo said was legal. And that decision by the Assembly is now going before the Senate. And the United States, the state of California, will start making reports to the UN Human Rights Committee, to the UN Committee Against Torture, and to the UN Committee on Elimination of Racial Discrimination as required under those treaties. So I think we have cause for affirmative feelings if we push and see that this is done. There is no way today that you can teach constitutional law without teaching that these treaties are part of the supreme law of the land under Article 6, Clause 2, and they should be taught in constitutional law. And no one who has told the United States government it's illegal to ignore these treaties has the capacity to teach that course. And I think it's important to realize law students are human beings, and they will live long time. And if they don't know that a person who violates the law as a lawyer goes to jail, then they will be getting the wrong message. I urge you to continue this struggle. It has nothing to do with academic freedom. Academic freedom means that if you have an opinion that's different from someone else, you can't be fired for it. But it does not mean that if you have committed a crime, that you have the right to go forward. Thank you.
Please welcome Sharon Adams. Hi everyone, and thank you all for being here today. I've been thinking a lot about what it means that John Yoo is still teaching here at Berkeley, and sort of entrenched now and getting to teach advanced constitutional law to law students. And I always like to talk about the warrantless wiretapping program because that is something that John Yoo alone is just directly responsible for. He wrote the memos that authorized illegal and unconstitutional warrantless wiretapping. This warrantless wiretapping has been found to be unconstitutional by a federal judge. But John Yoo wrote the memo in secret that allowed it, and it was actually implemented into policy, and people were illegally surveilled. So there's nothing academic about opinions that are written by John Yoo and then become the policy of the United States and are acted on. So I note, though, that he wrote the memos, they were acted on, and then subsequently they were found illegal and unconstitutional. But guess what? John Yoo is still teaching here, and Congress retroactively approved and authorized that illegal warrantless wiretapping program. So what does that mean? I kept thinking, what does that mean to incoming law students or to current law students? And I finally figured it out. It is okay. This is what Boalt Hall is teaching its law students. It is okay to break the law. It is okay to violate the Constitution, just as long as you make sure that you do it on the side of the most rich, the most powerful, and the elite. And then you can be protected when you break the law and when you violate the Constitution. That is the message that Boalt Hall is sending every day, because John Yoo teaches advanced constitutional law here. I just want to say that I've also been hearing a lot from the incoming law students here about social justice, environmental justice. There's a lot of outrage about the anti-immigration policies that are being implemented across the United States. And I want to point out that torture is disproportionately implemented on brown and black people. It is simply another method of the imperialism and of the inherent racism that is going on in this country. So, final thing I just want to say, because I know we're in a hurry, is that people sometimes feel discouraged, and I just want people to remember that 30 years ago, torture was occurring in Chicago under the police department. So talk about the, imprinter of authority. And just this last year, a Chicago police officer was put in jail for his involvement in torture. This may be a long battle, but it is not a battle that is over. So I thank you all for being here, and look forward to more opportunities to see you in the upcoming year. Thanks. Next, I have the special pleasure to bring up a representative of the Boalt Alliance Against Torture. She is a second-year law student in this school now. Her name is Yanin. Please welcome her.
Hi everyone, my name is Yanin. I am part of the Boalt Alliance Against Torture, and I'm co-chairing the National Lawyers Guild Boalt chapter here. I'm embarrassed to be a law student at Boalt. It feels like a slap in the face when we organized to get 200 signatures by law students, faculty, and staff for the university to open an investigation into whether or not John Yoo, in authoring the torture memos, violated the faculty code of conduct. We never got a response from the university. We even sent a letter after the OPR report came out with the finding that John Yoo committed intentional misconduct. We sent another letter to the university saying, with this finding, you must open an investigation. That is the very minimum you must do, and they failed to do just that. So I am embarrassed, but I have to say, without all your groups being here, we wouldn't feel half the pressure that we should to fight as students. I'm also embarrassed here because I walk through these halls, and my classmates, they don't understand, thanks to the work of John Yoo, they don't understand that international law establishes an absolute prohibition on torture. We shouldn't even be allowed to practice law if you don't understand that. So without your support, we won't be able to go on. We're going to keep trying. I'm not going to be demoralized. No. It's a slap in the face that John Yoo is teaching constitutional law when Dean Adley has promised he would not be given that class to teach.
Yeah.
But the other thing, I wanted to thank Sharon for highlighting the fact that the torture program outrages a person like me, a person of color, because it's about the dehumanization of brown bodies. And even though racism is not the driving force behind the torture regime, it's part of this cloak of impunity. So one of the things that we're going to focus on this year as a student body is to educate the students on how torture is not just about John Yoo, it's also been entrenched in the Obama administration.
Yes.
We need to continue to remain vigilant about that.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.